potentially last play of the game. Howell looks over the middle of the field, fires early, incomplete, but he threw early enough that there was 1 second left on the clock. Last play of the game, they put 2 seconds on the clock. As time expires, Sam Howell looks right and throws to the end zone to Jahan Dotson, who makes the catch. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bobby Valentine Sports Show, another episode of the NFL season, NFL recap, and we're going to dive into week 4 of the NFL season now. And like I said last week, already here, 1/4 of the way through the NFL season, 4 weeks down. I guess now it's not 16 weeks, there's 17 games for each team, but that's not an even number. So we're pretty much still a quarter of the way through the season with that extra game at the end. So I guess that's good, but still flying by like football season does every single year. And we'll start it off with our weekly recap. And some history was made this week during the NFL season. Christian McCaffrey broke the San Francisco 49er franchise record that was held by Jerry Rice for the most consecutive games with a touchdown scored. 13 games in a row, including the postseason. So 13 games in a row with a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey as a San Francisco 49er. Breaks the all-time franchise record by the GOAT, Jerry Rice. And he had 4 total touchdowns in this game. 45-point fantasy performance from Christian McCaffrey. He's unbelievable. And whenever this guy is healthy, he's the best running back in football. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Another little bit of history happened between the Indianapolis Colts and the Los Angeles Rams. We'll talk about that game a little bit more as we go on. But Puka Nacua, the rookie wide receiver, 4th career game, just broke the record for the most reception in a player's first 4 career games. 39 in those 4 games. He got his first catch. He had tied it already through 3. He got 31 immediately, and he had 9 catches in the game. 9 catches. I believe he had 150 yards, and we'll talk about him more. But he passed Anquan Bolden, had this record before with 30 catches in a game, or in his first 4 games. Puka Nacua, 39 catches in his first 4 career games. New NFL record. And something else, sure I'm not too happy about, as you see all my Raider stuff, Khalil Mack, the former Raider, on the Los Angeles Chargers now, playing against my Raiders, had a 6-sack game. 6-sack game. Yeah, you heard that correctly. Tied for the 2nd most sacks in a game in the history of the NFL, and it broke the franchise record for the Los Angeles Angels. The Chargers. Too much baseball in my head right now. But Khalil Mack absolutely terrorized us yesterday. It was not very fun. And we'll move on to the last thing. So 3 unbelievable performances by 1 breakout star and 2 stars that have already been in this league for a while. You know who they are. We'll move into the last segment, the play of the day. So I mentioned it a little bit before, the Colts and the Rams. They had a very, very crazy game going on. Kyren Williams scored 2 touchdowns before I could even blink. It felt like that happened in the first 2 minutes of the game. The Colts ended up going down. The Rams went up 23-0. 23-0 in favor of the Los Angeles Rams. And this was the first week back off of the concussion from Anthony Richardson, who had played pretty well in his first 2 games, been good rushing the football. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns in both of his games, and now he returns here. But he's down 23-0. He showed a lot of heart as he never gave up, was able to complete a long touchdown pass to Mo Alley-Cox. They went for 2, I believe. He was able to throw another one, and then he ran for 1, and then he threw another one with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, then completed the 2-point conversion to tie the game with under 2 minutes to go in the game. Unbelievable comeback from Anthony Richardson. It was very close to being our game of the week, but you'll see. It was neck and neck between these 2 games. The next one I ended up edging out just by a little, and you'll see why. But 23-0 for the Rams. Anthony Richardson and the Colts storm all the way back to tie the game up at 23-23 to send the game into overtime. In overtime, the Rams get the ball, and they're driving into Indianapolis territory, getting just outside the red zone to the 22-yard line, a 3rd and 4 play here. We'll pull it up. Stafford's in the gun, biggest play of the game, looks over the middle, finds, guess who? Puka Nacua, who splits 2 defenders and dives into the end zone for the walk-off touchdown to give the Los Angeles Rams a 29-23 victory, over the Indianapolis Colts, even though they almost blew a 23-point lead. Unbelievable play by Puka Nacua and Matt Stafford to end the game and to spoil the comeback that was almost so amazing by Anthony Richardson. Would have been a signature win for him, but Puka Nacua doing what he does. 9 receptions, over 150 yards, and a touchdown yet again because he's just been absurd. Puka Nacua, remember the name because he looks like he's here to stay. And I mean, sure, Cooper Kupp might be coming back. What are they going to do when there's both of them? They both dudes that are getting 10 receptions a game. They're open all the time. Like, I mean, either one of them is only going to be good or like defenses are going to have a lot of issues. So it's going to be interesting to see as Cooper Kupp could return as early as next week. And so here's the reason why that Colts Rams game was not the game of the week. Here we'll move into the actual game of the week, in my opinion. The Commanders at Eagles. And what a divisional matchup between these two teams. On paper, the Philadelphia Eagles look much better, but this was a very tight game, and we'll show you what goes on. So first possession of the game here for the Commanders. They get to a 4th and 1 inside the red zone. They decide to go for it, hand the ball off to Brian Robinson, and he is able to lunge forward to get the first down. Later in the drive, 2nd and goal here. A little sweep to Curtis Samuel. He's going to walk into the end zone untouched. First score of the game, 7-0 for the Washington Commanders. Good start for them. We'll jump ahead to the Eagles' first drive of the game now. After a nice long sustained drive that you're used to seeing from this Philadelphia Eagles offense, they get within the 5-yard line. Hurts is going to hand it off to DeAndre Swift. He's going to walk in, also untouched. 2 easy walk-in touchdowns. No one touches them. Both teams 7-7 here after the first drive of the game for both teams. We're going to jump ahead now. Commanders have the ball, looking to go inside after a big play by Logan Thomas. 2nd and goal. Howell's going to hand the ball to Brian Robinson. He's looking for the goal line, fighting for those extra yards, trying to break the plane, but the ball pops free. It goes into the end zone. There's a huge scrum for it, and if you can see, Terry McLaurin comes out of the pile with the football. So look at this. Brian Robinson trying to fight to the goal line himself. Ball pops free just shy of the goal line. So a live ball in the end zone. No touchdown. And as you see, 2 Commanders here basically grab it. And Terry McLaurin comes out of the pile with the football. 14-7 Washington. Crazy way to score a touchdown there. Crazy, crazy stuff. And 14-7 game now for the Washington Commanders. Ensuing, the Commanders get to stop, get the ball back, drive down into Eagles territory again, and are able to kick a Joey Sly field goal. That makes the game 17-7. So just before halftime now, Philadelphia Eagles looking to get back in the game, now down by 10. 40 seconds left in the first half. 1st and 10, Jalen Hurts looking left. He's going to throw off his back foot as he's getting a hit down the field to Devontae Smith, who leaps up and makes a ridiculous catch. What a display of high pointing the football here by Devontae Smith as he jumps into a crowd of defenders, comes down with the football. Nice juggling catch from him. Great concentration by Devontae Smith. So that'll bring up 2nd and 7. And Hurts is not going to be able to find anyone. He throws the ball away. And Jake Elliott is going to kick the 45-yard field goal to make it a 7-point game, 17-10 as time expires here in the first half. Starting of the third quarter here, the Eagles get the ball first, and they move into Washington territory yet again, and they are able to kick another 45-yard field goal by Jake Elliott to make it 17-13 Washington. 17-13 Washington now after 1 field goal at the end of the first half by Jake Elliott and 1 to start the second half. 17-13 ball game. And the Eagles are able to come up with another huge stop. So, 4-point game. About halfway through the third quarter, Eagles get the ball back on their own 40. First play of the drive. Fake screen pass. Hurts looking deep down the left sideline. A.J. Brown's got it. He's weaving through defenders, cuts back, looking for the end zone. He cuts back again inside the 10 to the 5, touchdown Eagles. That puts the Eagles up 19-17, and they decide to go for 2. What a play here from Jalen Hurts. Finds the open man streaking down the left sideline as he takes a hand to the face. A.J. Brown was not going to be denied here. Makes the play, cuts back, makes a couple other defenders miss inside the 20, and crosses the goal line for the go-ahead score for the Philadelphia Eagles. And like I said, they're going to go for 2 here. Hand the ball off to Kenneth Gainwell. He's going to power it in. So I'm not really sure why they went for 2 because it would have been a 3-point game anyway. But they go up 21-17. Another stop by the Eagles defense. This Eagles defense really settled in at the end of the second half, or end of the second quarter and in the third quarter here. And yet again, another Jake Elliott field goal is going to make it 24-17 in favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. So, next possession for the Washington Commanders. Down to the 15-yard line, hands it off to Sam Howell, hands the ball over to Brian Robinson, runs left through the hole, runs over a defender at the 5-yard line into the end zone. That's going to be the game-tying score. Tie ball game at 24 with about 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. So, Commanders go up early. Eagles defense settles in. Jalen Hurts and the boys are able to come back on top. But Brian Robinson ties the game. 8 minutes to go. And now we'll move ahead. A couple of empty possessions for both teams. We'll move ahead to the Eagles' possession now with just under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. 2nd and 4 from the 28-yard line going in. Jalen Hurts looking right, throwing deep to the end zone for A.J. Brown, who's got it again. His second touchdown of the second half to put the Eagles up 31-24 with just under 2 minutes to go in the ball game. So a huge second half here from A.J. Brown, a huge game from A.J. Brown. I believe he had 175 yards, and that was his second receiving touchdown of the game. So what a play from him. So less than 2 minutes to go. Last chance here for the Commanders. So a 3rd and 17 from their own 40-yard line. Sam Howell's got to make a play here. About a minute left in the game. He looks over the middle of the field and picks up about 15 yards to Jahan Dotson. That's short of the first down. Excuse me, that's Byron Pringle, the former Kansas City Chief, makes the play. That brings up 4th down, 4th and 2, and the Commanders have to go for it. This is the game. They're down by 7, 30 seconds to go, 4th and 2. Sam Howell avoids the pressure, scrambles right, finds who is that? Who is that? Dyami Brown. What a play from Dyami Brown to get open on 4th and 2. Sam Howell escapes the rush, escapes the pocket to make another play with his feet, extending the play, picking up the 4th down. Next play for the Commanders. Howell looking right, throwing to Terry McLaurin down to the 10-yard line. 5 seconds remaining, 1st and goal from the 10. Potentially last play of the game. Howell looks over the middle of the field, fires early, incomplete, but he threw early enough that there was 1 second left on the clock. Last play of the game, they put 2 seconds on the clock. As time expires, Sam Howell looks right and throws to the end zone to Jahan Dotson, who makes the catch for the touchdown with no time left on the clock to tie up the ball game. So, unbelievable drive here from Sam Howell with only a minute and 45 seconds to go, goes the whole length of the field and scores a touchdown, throws a touchdown to Jahan Dotson as time expired. Joey Sly's extra point is good. We're going to overtime, and an unbelievable way to last-ditch effort to keep the Commanders alive from Sam Howell, Jahan Dotson. The receiver stepped up big there. And the Commanders win the toss and get the ball first in overtime. So, from their own 29-yard line, 3rd and 5 for Washington. Howell feels the pressure, backpedaling, lofts one deep down the left sideline, and Terry McLaurin makes the catch, but they rule him out of bounds. What a throw from Sam Howell. Couldn't have put it anywhere else. Perfect throw down the sideline, your receiver or nobody, and Terry McLaurin was able to come down with it, but they ruled him out of bounds. They reviewed it for a while, and it was so close. And I think the ruling on the field of it being an incomplete pass really hurt Washington here because it was just so close to tell. Terrible break for Washington. They're going to have to punt, but 3rd and 3 from their own 48 for Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts throws one out into the flat to Devontae Smith, who stopped short of the yard to gain. So now, 4th down and a long yard. Guess what they're going to do? The brotherly shove. That's what they like to call it in the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia. The brotherly shove gets them about 2 yards there. 4th and 1, easiest play in the book for the Philadelphia Eagles playbook. 1st down, easy. They're in business. And later on the drive from the Washington 45, 3rd and 17, Jalen Hurts, looking across the middle of the field, throws it to Devontae Smith, getting them into field goal range. About an 8-9 yard reception there. That sets up Jake Elliott from 54 yards away. And we've seen this before. He nails it through to give the Philadelphia Eagles a 34-31 win in overtime against the Washington Commanders. So maybe a tighter game than a lot of people would have thought between these two teams, but division rivals, NFC East, always a tough game. Division games are always tough to come by, so the Eagles will take it any way they can. And, I mean, Jalen Hurts showing you that he is capable of coming back. Like, maybe we haven't seen it so many times in his career, but 10-point comeback. I believe the largest deficit was 10. He was able, no hesitation at all. He was able to just lock in, dial in. That second half was pretty much flawless from that Eagles offense, except for that one lull of a drive in the third quarter. But they were able to keep it together and pull off the win. Interesting, though, that Philly defense didn't look great. When they really needed them the most, they didn't look as good as they could have, which I was surprised about. But I'm sure that will change, but only time will tell. Now, we've talked about the game of the week. We're going to go into the NFL standings update, and we're going to start with the AFC East. And a big-time showdown in the AFC East happened on Sunday between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins in Orchard Park, New York. The Bills were able to handily defeat the Miami Dolphins 48-20, and I mean, the Bills looked very complete in this game. Their defense looked really, really good. They pressured Tua. They made him uncomfortable in the pocket. They didn't give him time to look deep down the field, didn't give him the time for those speedy receivers to get that separation. So they blitzed Tua a lot. They were able to put pressure on him, and I mean, even though, why am I forgetting his name? The Tre'Davious White tore his Achilles. They were still able to lock down this explosive passing game of the Miami Dolphins. And they take the division lead. They're in first place now. And we just talked about Miami. The blitz got to Tua. It really did. They were really in his face all day long. And you could tell that Tua was a little bit flustered. He wasn't as comfortable as he looked in previous games. Wasn't like going through his progressions as he has. And I'm sure that had to do a lot with the blitz and the pass rush of that Buffalo Bills defense. And they had no answer for Stephon Diggs. I mean, this team does have Jalen Ramsey, but he's not ready to come back yet. But, I mean, they just had absolutely nothing to do with Stephon Diggs. No answer for him. He had 3 touchdowns on the day. I believe he had 120 receiving yards and like 11 receptions. So that's going to have to be figured out. Jalen Ramsey will surely help that, but who knows when he'll be back as of right now. The New England Patriots just got absolutely smoked by the Dallas Cowboys. I believe it was 38-3, and it was the worst loss in Bill Belichick's career. So today, Monday, probably not a fun film session for the New England Patriots, especially the defense and Mac Jones. But yeah, probably not very fun. The New York Jets, they played a tight game with the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And I mean, they really should have won, to be honest. They had all the opportunities to win that game. Mahomes didn't look very good. Mahomes was throwing picks after picks. Collinsworth was still, like, blown away, even though Mahomes wasn't playing very good. But Collinsworth, he loves Mahomes. Zach Wilson just downright outplayed Patrick Mahomes in every sense of the word. He outplayed him. Patrick Mahomes got outplayed yesterday by Zach Wilson, and that's a fact. The only thing that happened was that one play when Zach Wilson just mental lapse. He took his eye off the ball, off the snap, and he dropped the snap, turnover. That was the biggest play of the game because the Jets didn't see the ball after that because of 2 very controversial no-call penalties and one that was. But yeah, I'm a Chiefs hater. Sorry about it. But yeah, Zach Wilson, very surprising. He looked very good, to be honest. He made a bunch of good throws. That first drive of the second half, are you kidding me? He came out, made a crazy back shoulder throw up the seam to the tight end. He made another one down the right sideline, and that touchdown pass was a very tight window that he fit that ball into. So, I mean, I was impressed from Zach Wilson there. The NFC East, the Philadelphia Eagles, just talked about them. They were our game of the week, and they beat the Washington Commanders in overtime. They are still undefeated. They look very good. The Dallas Cowboys, they killed New England. Like I said, they gave Bill Belichick his worst loss in his career. Their defense looked back on track like it was beginning. The Washington Commanders, we talked about them. They lost a heartbreaker in Philly in overtime, even though they got the ball first in overtime, which always is tough. But they looked very good. Sam Howell has impressed me this year. Sam Howell had 3 good games and 1 very bad one, but 3 good ones. So, I mean, that's something to build on, especially playing the Philadelphia defense tight the entire game and losing by a field goal in overtime. That's a good game. The New York Giants looking to turn it around. Monday Night Football, they're playing tonight against Seattle. Going to have that for you when they finish that up. The AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens beat down on the Browns yesterday, 28-3. Lamar looked very good. The Lamar-Mark Andrews connection came back full swing. That was nice to see. He had 2 touchdowns on the day, but that defense as well looked pretty good. But Dorian Robinson, I don't even know. He did not look so great. 3 points to show for the Browns. Not great. Speaking of not great, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they just lost to the Houston Texans 30-6. That offense did not do anything all day. The defense didn't play as well as I thought they were going to also against Houston. And I mean, Kenny Pickett had an MCL sprain, I believe. I think they're doing a second test on it, either today or tomorrow, but not good sign for Pittsburgh if he misses any time because their backup, I believe, is Mitchell Trubisky. That's not ideal. And I mean, that Mike Tomlin defense just got shredded by C.J. Stroud, and that doesn't usually happen. So something to look at there. The Browns, I just said they lost 28-3 to Baltimore. They need Deshaun because Deshaun played really well last week, and they didn't have him, and they looked terrible on offense because that defense is very good. If they can hang around a ball game, like Deshaun can win it late because that defense can hold you into games. And oh my gosh, Cincinnati just got demolished. 27-3 by Tennessee. 27-3, demolished by the Titans. Derrick Henry ran all over the place. He threw for a touchdown also. And what is happening with the Bengals? Like, are they just bad? Is Joe Burrow actually, like, extremely hurt? T. Higgins just got hurt, did not return to the game. I don't know what happened to him. I believe it was a rib injury. I mean, everything's falling apart right now for Cincinnati, and I think it's panic button time. Like, the NFL season's not that long. This is a quarter way through. They look like maybe the worst team in football. Like, even the Cardinals can score. The Cardinals have a win. They beat the Cowboys. I don't know, man. Like, oof, very, very concerning from the Bengals, especially after paying Joe Burrow all the money they paid him. Crazy stuff, crazy stuff. We'll see if that's going to change, but as of right now, it looks tough. It looks very tough for them. NFC North now. Big game Thursday night in this division between the two top teams. The Packers went into this week as the top spot in the NFC North, but Thursday night at Lambeau Field, the Lions were able to beat them 34-20. Looked very good, honestly, in this game, and they took over the top spot in the division as they beat the Packers 34-20. So the Lions, I mean, that defense is solid. Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute monster, and I mean, they look like they're able to just control the football game. That's kind of what it seems with this Lions team. They play good enough defense. The offense knows how to control it with the run game, and Jared Goff usually doesn't make so many mistakes. Even though now I think he's on 3 games in a row with a pick, but he usually doesn't make that many mistakes. And the Packers, they didn't look that great. I mean, I don't know what was going on with Aaron Jones. I guess he was still a little banged up. They didn't even use him at all, really. But, I mean, he's your best player. You're going to need him to kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say it's like the Giants with Saquon Barkley because Saquon Barkley is the best player in the Giants, and if the Giants are going to have success, it's going to go through Saquon Barkley. He's going to be a part of that success. Maybe that's not exactly to the same extent with Green Bay, but I think that offense, to a certain extent, needs to run through Aaron Jones. And that was not the case. Maybe it was because he was banged up, because he was just injured past 2 weeks, but maybe next week that'll be different. The Minnesota Vikings were finally able to get their first win of the year in probably the worst game that they played offensively all year long. Kirk threw 2 picks. One of them was a pick 6 at the goal line. It was a 99-yard pick 6, and he got laid out on the play. But they beat the Carolina Panthers 21-13. Bryce Young had a strip sack that was returned for a touchdown by this Minnesota defense. So yeah, Bryce Young having his growing pains his first 4 weeks in the NFL, injured already. So, and the Chicago Bears. Oh my gosh. The Chicago Bears are probably the only fan base in the NFL that's less happy than me so far. They haven't won a game yet, and they were up 28-7 against the Broncos, who lost by 50 points. They gave up 70 points last week. They were up 28-7 against that Broncos team in the third quarter, mind you, and they end up giving up 2 touchdowns right away after being super conservative on offense, and then Justin Fields gets sacked for a touchdown to tie the game, and then they end up going for it on 4th and 1 deep into Denver territory, not getting it. Russell brings them right down the field. They kick a field goal for the win. Unfortunate for Chicago, even though they got the ball back, Fields did throw a pick, so it didn't really matter. And oh boy, up 28-7, lost 31-28. That's pretty brutal. And I mean, are the Bears going to win a game at this point? It's getting bad. It's getting pretty bad. Move to the AFC South now. And this division is pretty weird. every team in this division is 2-2, so it's like really weird. Technically, the first place team is the Colts, who just had that crazy game against the Rams I talked about earlier. That was almost our game of the week. Anthony Richardson brought them back from the dead, down 23-0, came all the way back to tie it at 23 and send the game to overtime. They eventually did lose. They didn't touch the ball in overtime, which is always unfortunate. But, I mean, I've been extremely impressed by Anthony Richardson. I did not think that Anthony Richardson was going to be that great this year, given the fact that he wasn't even that great at Florida last year. Sure, he's an absolute specimen. He's got freakish abilities. He's got a cannon. He's fast. He's mobile. He's good. He fits the mold, right, of the new 2023 new era quarterback. Sure. But he didn't have that. The numbers at Florida weren't there. He threw a lot of picks. So I was very concerned to see what he was going to do, especially in the beginning of his career. But so far, I mean, if it wasn't for C.J. Stroud, he'd be the best one right now. But C.J. Stroud, who we're going to talk about in a second, has been unbelievable. But Anthony Richardson has been impressing me every week, except the game, obviously, he didn't play in. But the Colts won that game. Now, we'll talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. They played in London against the Atlanta Falcons. They won pretty handedly. Desmond Ridder did not do very good in this game. He threw a couple picks to Jaguars, one of them's pick 6. The defense played well for Jacksonville. And, yeah, so they just won that game in London, right? Now they're staying in London for the whole week, and next weekend they're playing the Bills in London. So back-to-back London games for the same team. I don't think that's ever happened before, where a team just stays in London for a 2-week span and plays twice in a row. But I guess that'll be interesting. And the Toy Story game was this. It was pretty wild to watch. Bijan juking out defenders as a toy was pretty weird. But yeah, I wonder if they're going to do that again for the next week. There's actually a London game next week and the week after that. So 3 weeks in a row with London games starting at 9:30. And now we'll talk about Houston. Houston beat Pittsburgh 30-6. Now they're 2-2. C.J. Stroud threw for 300 passing yards again. He's got 300 passing yards, I believe, in 3 of the 4 games that he's played so far. And he has been the best rookie quarterback by far, in his first 4 games. They've looked very good. He looks like the savior to this team right now. Him and Nico Collins are building a connection. Nico Collins had an absolute day against Pittsburgh. And, I mean, if he continues to do this could be a rookie of the year here for C.J. Stroud. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, as it's only a quarter of the way through. But C.J. Stroud, unbelievable so far. Unbelievable. I believe through 3 games, I'm not sure through 4, through 3 games, 3rd most passing yards ever. So that's pretty crazy. The Tennessee Titans, they finally got it put together against Cincinnati, of course, because Cincinnati can't do anything right now. Derrick Henry had an absolute beast of a day. He ran for a long touchdown where he just broke 5 tackles, looked like, stiff-armed somebody, and then he threw for a touchdown. So he had a great day. But everyone in the AFC South is 2-2 at the moment. The NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they beat the New Orleans Saints 26-9, even though Derek Carr did play. Derek Carr did not look very good. Maybe he was still banged up, maybe whatever, but the Saints offense looked pretty stagnant. Nothing really to show for it. I believe Mike Evans got banged up in this game, and Chris Godwin ended up having about, I think, 8 receptions for 120 yards, 119 yards, something like that. So Godwin finally had his best day of the season in a Buccaneers win. Baker Mayfield has been playing pretty well as well. The Atlanta Falcons lost in London. They have not looked great after the first 2 games where they did. The running game was unbelievable those first couple of games, but now that Desmond Ridder has to kind of take over a little bit and have to throw the ball a little bit more than he did in those first couple of games, there's been more mistakes, more turnovers, and less success overall for this Atlanta Falcons team. So, I mean, honestly, like, I hate saying this because it was the opposite with the Jets, because you saw it last night. If you keep the ball out of Desmond Ridder's hands as much as possible, you might be better off. But that's what the Jets said about Zach Wilson, and last night they opened him up, let him play with some confidence, and it worked. He played really well. So who really knows there? Not sure if Desmond Ridder and Zach Wilson are going to be comparable, but that's something that came to mind. The New Orleans Saints, they lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Talked about that. Derek Carr and that offense didn't look very good. Alvin Kamara did return. They're probably going to ease him back into it, though. Probably not going to be the focal point of this offense yet, but he might have to be sooner than they were expecting, because they did not look good on offense at all, and they lost a big game to Tampa Bay. They're going to have to start figuring it out now. The Carolina Panthers lost to Minnesota. Bryce Young's been going through a lot of growing pains as the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Seems like the offensive line isn't really giving him that much time either. A lot of sacks yesterday. That strip sack that I talked about that led to a Minnesota touchdown that really put the game out of reach, to be honest. Like that happened, and then immediately a Justin Jefferson touchdown put them out of it. But kind of what you can expect from a rookie quarterback, especially the first overall pick. We'll see what happens. The AFC West, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Jets yesterday, and I mean, our Lord and Savior, Patrick Mahomes, even though he threw a bunch of picks and didn't look great yesterday, looked unbelievable, of course, according to Chris Collinsworth. Taylor Swift obviously was there because I'm sure you know that, right? You heard that Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. Are you sure? Did you hear that? Because she was at the Jets game yesterday, just so you know, just in case you missed it. But yep, the Kansas City Chiefs, they won. They didn't look that great. The defense looked all right, but I mean, Zach Wilson kind of played really well. So weird game last night. Mahomes threw 2 picks. Honestly, should have had 3. I'm not going to even get into that, but they survived against the Jets in New York. The Los Angeles Chargers just jumped over my Raiders because they beat us, and the Raiders are a joke. Justin Herbert had a good day. Justin Herbert's very good. I mean, he ran for a touchdown. He threw for, I believe, 2, and he got hurt. He actually threw a pick, right? Worst pass of the day was a pick. Overthrew the receiver by a lot. And his hand got stuck in the face mask of Max Crosby. And, I mean, something, they must have had to get stitches. Something must have cut it, or he broke something because he came out with like a splint on. And as soon as that happened, the Raiders kind of got some momentum. They picked him off. They scored. They got a stop. They ended up scoring. They make it a 1-touchdown game because Brandon Staley, for the second week in a row, did a 4th-and-1 QB sneak inside his own half and did not get it 2 weeks in a row, gifting the other team a ball and an opportunity to tie the game. Last week, they had an opportunity to win. But the Raiders get down into the goal line. They get the ball back with 3.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, down by 7, and they don't run the ball a singular time. Not one time. You had the NFL's leading rusher, Josh Jacobs, last year, and you didn't run the ball once in 6 plays, Josh. 6 plays, Josh McDaniels. And on the goal line, you get to 1st and goal, and you do a sprint out pass to the right, cutting off half the field for your rookie quarterback in his first ever game-winning drive attempt. And what does he do? He throws right to Asante Samuel when Jacoby Myers wasn't even looking. So that kind of sealed the game. We did have a timeout, though, but of course, Brandon Staley being Brandon Staley, on a play where you probably should have ran it and took the time off clock, threw a bomb because he doesn't respect the Raiders defense, and why would you? Because the Raiders defense is a joke. 45-yard catch to Joshua Palmer to seal the deal. A couple kneel downs for the Chargers, and they beat the Raiders. Go ahead of them in the division. And, I mean, Herbert played a good game, but other than that, the Raiders really botched that game. 2 fumbles from Aiden O'Connell, making his first career start, as Jimmy G was unable to clear concussion protocol and was unable to make the start. So Aiden O'Connell fumbled twice through 2 picks. Unfortunate game. The Denver Broncos, they got gifted a win pretty much. They were down 28-7. They won the game 31-28. The Chicago Bears went extremely conservative once they had that 3-touchdown lead, and just kind of let it go. 4th-and-1 for the Bears going in a tie ball game. They decided to go for it instead of kick the field goal to go up 31-28. They get stuffed. Broncos come back down, kick the field goal, win the game. So Broncos get their first win of the year. The NFC West now, we'll wrap that up. The San Francisco 49ers are so good. Like I said before, Christian McCaffrey broke Jerry Rice's franchise record for the most games in a row with a touchdown scored with 13. And like I said, he had 4 touchdowns in the game as well. They just looked unbelievable. The Seattle Seahawks are playing Monday Night Football against the New York Giants. So this is the second time out of 4 weeks of the NFL season that both the Sunday night game and the Monday night game are being played at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. One of them Giants, one of them Jets. 2 times in a row. Kind of crazy. The Los Angeles Rams, we talked about them. They had an unbelievable game against the Colts where they almost blew a 23-point lead to Anthony Richardson, but Puka Nacua was able to bring them back with a walk-off touchdown in overtime to win the game 29-23. Puka Nacua, like I talked about, has been unbelievable for this Rams team in the absence of Cooper Kupp, and we're going to see how they're going to be able to work side by side once Kupp gets back. The Arizona Cardinals, not great. They played the Niners, so you can expect how that went, really. The Niners kind of took care of them pretty easily. But yeah, the Cardinals aren't great. Josh Dobbs actually has been better than I thought. But, I mean, this Cardinals team is going to be at the bottom of the barrel for the whole season, I would assume. And that's going to round out our divisions with the NFL standings update. Alrighty, and that is a wrap on Monday Night Football, Week 4, officially over, quarter of the way through the season. And if you can't tell, I kind of took the stuff off the table and put it away. Sorry, my bad. But we're doing it anyway. Monday Night Breakdown. The New York Giants looked atrocious. The offense could not do a singular thing. They need Saquon Barkley back desperately. He is that heart and soul of that offense. Everything runs through him. The Giants' offensive line looked terrible. They gave up 12 sacks on the day. 12 sacks given up. Devin Witherspoon had 2 sacks, the rookie, in his 4th career game. 2 sacks by himself and a 97-yard pick six. Unbelievable stuff from them. Seahawks defense looked unbelievable. Brian Dable and Daniel Jones were just unhappy all night long. Very unfortunate showing for New York Giants. They joined the 1-3 club like my Raiders. And, just not a very exciting football game, to be honest. Very, very sloppy by both teams to start off. Defensive battle until the Seahawks were able to score on a DK Metcalf touchdown. Giants got a field goal. Another touchdown by Seattle. Then it was kind of over. The Giants' offense was really never able to get anything going. And, 12 sacks on the day for Daniel Jones. That's just... Was it 11 or 12? I don't even know. But unbelievable from Seattle's defensive line. They had 4 players, I believe, that had 2 sacks. Insane. And Jamal Adams got hurt too. So they did that all without Jamal Adams playing his first game in, I think it was 385 days. And he's already done. Very sad from him. But the New York Giants get smoked at home. They've only scored 3 points in 2 games at home. 4th worst point differential in the history of football through 4 games. Not ideal. So, New York Giants, not so fun. Go down to 1-3. Seattle, after a tough week 1, bounces back. They go 3-1. So, that's going to do it for the Week 4 Bobby Valentine Sports Show NFL episode. And make sure you follow us on the Bobby Valentine Sports Show accounts on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the good stuff. Bobby Valentine's accounts on all those accounts too. And go to the bvacademy.com for all your needs. Bobby Valentine Sports Academy. And we'll see you next week. Peace out.